Hi, my name is Yana. I am an ARMP student. I'm working with Dr. Yosef, and I'm here to network for your optimal health. Today's topic is liver enzyme elevation and why it is important.
Hi, this is Dr. Jonathan Youssef, Networking for Your Optimal Health. Today's topic will be about elevated liver enzymes. The podcast is a little more technical because some of my listeners are asking, how do I know if my liver enzymes are due to toxic substances around me, or is it because I have an inherent medical problem? So one of the answers that I've been giving is, let's check this out. Let's find out what you're eating, what your medications are you taking, what are the toxic substances around you in the house or in the air, or are you allergic to certain types of things? So when I consider this, I try to break down the causes of elevations of your liver enzymes. Because it's so complicated, I know I threw a lot out there, but maybe just a few things that might help you understand why your liver enzymes are elevated. So the first thing I want to discuss is, what is the function of the liver? Besides synthesizing proteins and helping create proteins in your body so that you can function normally, it also filters and detoxifies the body. And so this is where the liver enzymes come into play. When your body detoxifies and it's overloaded with toxins, then the liver has to work harder and harder. As a result, the liver enzymes become elevated. So when I tell patients in the office that your liver enzymes are elevated, the first thing I ask them are, what are the toxic substances around? So sometimes these toxic substances can come from foods, and the fatty, greasy foods are probably the highest in toxicities. We also have processed foods that are made and canned and frozen and processed and put chemicals into them. So when you're having that soda that has the sugar in it that is the saccharin or the sweet and low or the toxic sugars that are out there, well, that's definitely going to need to be detoxified. When you're eating processed foods that have a lot of chemicals in there that are preservatives, that might need to be detoxified. Well, when your body has to face fatty, greasy foods or foods that are difficult to conjugate or they're not normally found in nature and are processed, well, those things have to be detoxified. So when your liver has to work overtime and at a high rate to detoxify your body from fatty, greasy foods, processed foods, or chemically treated foods, then we are left with elevated liver enzymes.
Hi, this is Yana again. I just wanted to go over a couple of the things that can elevate the liver enzymes. 5 of the main things are alcohol, food, medications, viruses such as mana or hepatitis, and also autoimmune disease.
May indicate that you have a detoxifying problem. So some of the other things that I also warn patients about are alcohol and the use of over-the-counter medications. And Tylenol is actually a big one for many of my patients because Tylenol can be used for minor aches and pains, but at higher levels, it can be toxic to your liver. And even in minor levels, in a more consistent daily fashion, you'll also see some elevations in liver enzymes. Medications can also lead to elevated liver enzymes and for your liver to detoxify. So elevated liver enzymes can be just a signal that maybe the medication I'm prescribing you, or if it's a medication like a supplement that you're taking over the counter, may need to be lowered or changed, or you may need to look into another option for detoxifying your liver so that that medication can work correctly. So sometimes 2 or 3 medications can be in by themselves together damaging to your liver. And so let's review food and medications, over the counter, and prescription medications. Well, then this leads me to the last 2 things that are not as common, but things that I worry about, and those are viruses. And so the viruses can be your regular upper respiratory infection, or it could be as severe as the hepatitis virus, which is one of the common A, B, and C, hepatitis A, B, and C, which can lead to damage to your liver as well. And so those are some things that I need to check on. The last is some autoimmune processes, and those go back to when we talk about foods that you might be allergic to, or chemicals that you might be exposed to, or genetically having a possible risk factor for autoimmune diseases. And these autoimmune diseases basically cause antibodies to basically fight your liver. So the three things that I really focus on is your diet and the medications, even over-the-counter ones. And then when I mention diet, I do want to make sure that it's also alcohol, that we reduce that or stop that, the over-the-counter medications, and then allow me to check a few more tests to make sure that those liver enzymes are not elevated due to viruses or autoimmune processes. Aside from that, there are some other anatomical problems like your gallbladder that can actually affect your liver enzyme. So that's another thing that I might look at. Well, let me just say that when you first come in and you have elevated liver enzymes, I check all of those things and ask for the proper questions to help you figure out which and why these liver enzymes are elevated. Hi all, thank you for joining us for another great podcast. This one was about elevated liver enzymes. I'm sorry that it was a little more technical, but I wanted to get the information out there to many of my listeners who come in to the office and ask me, hey, why are my liver enzymes elevated? So I thought I'd break it down and talk about some few things that I know for sure can be causing your elevations. And when I think of the liver, I think about it as a detoxifier, but it also filters and it also is involved in protein synthesis. Remember that sometimes the sugar in all of the food that you eat has to be converted and has to be somehow changed into a usable form for your body to use. And this is important function of the liver. So I ask that you consider this when you are looking at your elevated liver enzymes. And also, when you come back, I usually like to repeat them. So finally, we've come to the end of the discussion. And when I repeat the liver enzymes, what I want you to do before you come back in is check and make sure that you detoxify your body as best as you can. That means a couple of options are available for you. One, cutting out those fatty, greasy foods and cutting out any supplements that might affect the liver. Checking your medications and making sure that none are interacting, causing that problem. And lastly, you might also want to detoxify your body by taking a multi-cleanse or a type of detoxifier. Milk thistle is a good example of a supplement that can help with the detoxifying effects on the liver. There are no specific studies that I can recall, but I do have a couple of products that I recommend in the office to help you remove some of your toxicities. In addition, when you repeat the levels, I also check a hepatitis panel and a couple of other lab tests to just make sure that whatever it is that caused that liver enzymes to be elevated, that it does not come back or it does not have something to do with a virus or an autoimmune. This is Dr. Jonathan Youssef, networking for your optimal health.